Welcome to Roll and Release for the lower back and hips. This class is specifically designed to stretch, mobilize, and release areas of the body that are either stressed or imbalanced. And we'll use a couple props to help us in our practice today. First, a set of therapy balls. And if you don't have these, you can use lacrosse or tennis balls. A foam roller. And if you don't have a foam roller, you can still use the therapy balls. It's just kind of nice to get to the bigger surface areas of the body. And 2 blocks. Let's get started. Have your props nearby so that when we lie down, you can still reach them. And lie all the way down on your back. Hug your knees to your chest and just rock a little bit from side to side, just sensing a little massage and release of the lower back. Take your hands onto your kneecaps and circle your thighs in opposite directions of one another, kind of like egg beaters. Notice the amount of range you have of the thigh bones and the hip sockets and any resistance that you sense. Take those circles in the other direction. And then take the soles of the feet together, knees out wide, so you're kind of in a hovering Supta Baddha Konasana. And you'll kind of tilt or twist the pelvis from side to side as you draw one knee to one armpit and then the other knee to the other armpit. So right knee, right armpit, left knee, left armpit. And by doing this, we're just creating a very gentle lateral flexion in the spine as we draw one hip closer to one shoulder. Good. Hug the knees nice and tight to your chest, curl into a ball, round your forehead in, just getting maximum amount of compression through the front of the body, flexion through the spine, and just notice how it feels in your back and the front of the hips. And then guide your knees to the left. Take your arms out wide like the letter T as you come into a very passive twist. So ideally, what we want to try to do, just like in any other aspect of our lives, is create balance in the physical body. And it's not always the easiest thing to do, especially when we are busy and we have our daily schedules and routines. But if we're always in one position, or maybe alternate between 2 or 3 positions, sitting, standing, walking, and lying down to go to bed, then there isn't a whole lot of variety of movement. So when we throw a new movement pattern into the mix, say having to reach in the backseat of our car to grab something, turning our head around, or having to reach and grab a heavy load from overhead, then our body is going to be very confused and maybe stressed out. So by moving the body in various directions and mobilizing the body, meaning that we have control within that range, then we're pretty much prepared for any movement pattern. We're pretty much prepared for any stressors that we can put on our body or on our life. Take a breath in and breath out. Hug your knees to your chest and then drop them to the other side. And so whether it's, passively stretching like what we're doing, actively stretching, meaning we're engaging the muscles while we're holding in that stretch position, strengthening, moving our bodies, it's all really good. It's all variety, and it keeps our bodies guessing. Take 3 more cycles of breath here. Good. Come back to center and plant your feet to the ground. You can keep your arms by your side, and as you plant the feet down, make sure that they're about under your knees and hips width distance apart. Inhale, bridge your hips up, and as you do so, feel the back body engage so that you can lengthen the front of your body, especially the front of the hips and the belly. So you're in a hip extension. Then lower your hips back down, and then we'll just do that 2 more times, lifting the hips up and lowering down. Good, so just getting some active engagement through the back of the body. Last time. And then lower down and windshield wiper the legs from side to side. So that was our little test to just see how everything feels in the hips and the lower back. And then we'll do a little bit of release work with the foam roller and the therapy balls, just kind of wake everything up. And then we'll retest that range, but a bit more actively. Hug your knees to your chest, rock up, just so that we can find the first two areas of the body that we're gonna roll out. So take your hands to the sides of your waist where it's kind of squishy. Push down until you feel the top of your pelvis. Then push up until you feel the bottom of your rib cage. So take your thumbs to that squishy spot in between. It may be a wider spot, it may be a narrower spot, but nonetheless, there will be some space between those two landmarks. And notice my thumbs are not really close into the spine, they're quite a bit wider. We are going to roll out the quadratus lumborum or QL muscle. So grab your therapy balls, take them out of their tote bag, and place them exactly where your thumbs are. This muscle helps with spinal rotation, lateral flexion, and breathing. So go ahead and lie down on your back and take the therapy balls to that exact spot. As you lie down, you might immediately feel some pressure. You may not. So if you would like to add on more, you can windshield wiper the legs from side to side. And it may get a little more tender here. If not, you can try hugging one knee to your chest. And then as you hold on to that knee, you may notice that side has a little bit more pressure. And as you breathe in, you can feel your back expanding into the therapy ball. And as you breathe out, you can feel your back sinking into the therapy ball. Good. And then just switch to the other side if you're still windshield wipering the legs. That works as well. Or you can even just hold and keeping your feet planted just like how you started and breathe deeply. Another big breath in here. And breath out. Good. Keep in mind we're not trying to chase pain. So if you feel numbing or tingling or it's hard to breathe, back off. If you would like to add on more, you can hug both knees to your chest and maybe rock a little bit from side to side. Good. One at a time, lower your feet to the ground. Lift your hips up and move the therapy balls out of the way. You can just take them by your side. If you know they're going to roll away, you can place them on your belly. Just take one breath in. Notice how it's maybe easier to breathe in your back. And breath out. Good. That's one of my favorite places to roll out. And if you feel back pain, back tension, that might be one of the first places that you look at as well. Next spot that we will roll out is the glutes. So imagine you're wearing jeans and you have that U-shaped pocket. Take the therapy balls right to the upper seam of those imaginary pockets. And then plant your feet down and just rock your hips from side to side. And if the therapy balls slide away from you, you might just have to set them back up. But make sure that you start with them in the center of both of your glutes, but at the top. If you're a visual learner, I'll show you right now. So right at this spot. Okay. As you rock your hips from side to side, just shifting that compression. You might already notice some areas that are a little bit more tender. You can think about this work rolling out on the therapy balls, the foam roller, or using a Theragun, all as ways to just wake up the tissues and the muscles in your body. All right, so now you're going to take both therapy balls to the inner pockets of your glutes, between your sit bones and your butt crack. It's really the only way I can describe it. Keep the feet planted and imagine that you're doing a cat-cow here. So tilting your tailbone behind you and curling your tailbone underneath you. And if you feel like you're on a bone, then you probably are. So just adjust. Make sure that they're not on the bones, but they're on the flesh of your muscles and of your connective tissues. All right. Go ahead and release. We'll now roll out the outer pockets of the glutes. You'll need one therapy ball for this, so you'll take it to the outer pocket of that right glute. Remember, the outer seam of that U-shaped pocket. Start by just windshield wipering the legs to the right and then back to the middle. If this is enough pressure, you can stay. If you want to add on more, then find a figure 4, right ankle to left thigh, and then you can drop the legs to the right and then back to the middle. You can stay here, kind of knead your hips into that spot. So kind of circling your hips and pelvis in one direction and then the other. Okay, come off of that and switch sides. Same thing on this side here. So you can start by windshield wipering the legs to the left and then back to the middle. You can add on figure 4, left ankle, right thigh. Same thing, windshield wipering the legs. Or you can start kneading into that spot, circling your hips in one direction and then the other. Good. Release, unwind the legs, set the therapy balls to the side. Hug your knees to your chest and rock a little bit from side to side. Rock yourself up and we'll roll out the last 2 spots. You can either come to standing on your knees or you can just come to standing. We're going to roll out the psoas, one of your hip flexors. So find the front of your hip on the right side, that bony protrusion, and then find your belly button. Connect the dots wherever they meet in the middle. Relax your belly and then press in with your fingers. And you might not feel a whole lot. So in order to find the hip flexors, let's flex the hip. So step your right foot forward and try hovering the foot off the ground a couple times. And you may already notice that the hip is flexing and you will probably feel it in that spot. Go ahead and take one of your therapy balls to the right hand side and lie on your belly in a Sphinx pose position. Take your left knee out to the side in a half frog position, almost like you're army crawling. And you'll be propped up on the forearms. Inhale, push the chest forward, pull the elbows back so you're creating some tautness, some length in the front of the body. And then exhale, sink your body weight down into the floor. So now you're compressing into the therapy ball. 2 more times like that. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, lift back up, chest forward, elbows back. Maybe you add on a lift of that right leg. Exhale, lower all the way down, forehead to hands. You can bend your right knee and try to lift it off of the floor. It's going to add quite a bit more compression, so if it's too much, you can always rewind. Lengthen your right leg, press yourself up, and let's do the other side. So same exact spot on the left-hand side. If you need to find it again, front of the hip on the left-hand side and your belly button. Once you find those 2 spots, connect the dots in the middle and press in. Therapy ball goes underneath that spot. Lower all the way down to your belly with your right leg in that half frog position. You're propped up on the forearms. Inhale, chest forward, elbows back. Exhale, release your body weight down. Again, inhale, chest forward, elbows back. Exhale, release your body weight down. Last one, inhale. Option to lift your left leg up, just adding more compression. Exhale, lower all the way down. You can bend your left knee and try to lift it off of the floor. Again, if it's too much, if it's hard to breathe, just back off. Lengthen that left leg behind you, press yourself up, come onto your hands and knees. All right, so the last spot that we will roll out is the rectus femoris, or just the quad group as a whole. So if you just have the therapy ball, we're just gonna roll out the rectus femoris, which is also a hip flexor. And if you have your foam roller, we can kind of get into a bit broader surface area to release. So I'll start with what to do with the therapy ball. So you'll find that bony protrusion on the right-hand side. Take your fingers just on the inside of that and slide your fingers down. Notice my hand is right in the center of that right thigh. You want to take your therapy ball right in the middle at that spot, about 4 or 5 fingers above your knee, because we don't want to roll out the knee joint. You'll lie down on your forearms, similar setup as before. If you're using your foam roller, take it parallel to the top of your yoga mat, underneath your right thigh. Your left knee will be out to the side, and you'll be propped up on your forearms. Rock your body forward and back if you're on the foam roller. If you're stationary on the therapy ball, try just bending and extending at the knee. You can even toggle the leg, rotating the heel out and in, or internally and externally rotating the leg. And if you're on the therapy ball, you can even try moving your knee from side to side, something that you can't really do on the foam roller. So there is an advantage to that. If you are on the foam roller, try moving up and down, even rotating the leg out. And you can even rotate the leg internally so the heel turns out and getting into more of the outer quad muscles. Notice I'm not completely on the side of my body because we don't want to roll out the IT band. You'll probably just irritate it since there is fatty tissue beneath that. So we can get to the front, the inner and outer part of the front of the thigh. Okay, let's do that on the other side. Same exact spot. Again, if you have the therapy ball, set it up in the same way. If you have the foam roller, set it up in the same way. You'll be on the forearms. Again, you can just bend and extend at the knee if you're on that therapy ball. If you're on the foam roller, you have a little bit more room to move up and down. And just by rotating the thigh in or out, you can move up and down on the inner and outer portion of the front of the thigh. If you're on that therapy ball, you have a little bit more room to kind of toggle the leg or to toggle the knee, to kind of move the knee from side to side. And I will warn you, this can be pretty intense. So if you're feeling like it's, very tender, you're not alone. Okay, come off of that. And you can set your foam roller to the side. Dynamic movement, mobilization, and stretching in a dynamic floor flow so that we can retest the areas that we just rolled out. Grab your 2 blocks, take them to the top of your yoga mat, and then come onto your hands and knees in a tabletop position. Stack your elbows underneath your shoulders, knees under your hips. Inhale, cow pose, arch your spine, look up towards the ceiling. Keep a slight tautness though in the front of the belly so you're not collapsing all the way down. And then exhale, cat pose, round your spine, push the floor away and curl the chin to the chest. Let's take a couple more. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Come back to neutral in the spine. And now we will move the spine through lateral flexion. Take an inhale here. Exhale, drive your left shoulder and left hip closer together. So you're engaging through the left side of the body, you're lengthening through the right. Come back to center, inhale. Exhale, go in the other direction. Right shoulder, right hip. Keep going from side to side, almost like you're a dog wagging your tail. And you'll feel the sides of the body engage and lengthen in opposition of one another. This is kind of similar to what we did on our back. All right, so now we'll add a twist. So inhale, reach your right arm up to the ceiling. Look up at that top hand. Exhale, lower it back down. Let's switch. Inhale, left arm up. Exhale, lower it back down. Do that 2 more times. Last one. And then lower back down. Good, so we move the spine through all ranges of motion, flexion, extension, rotation, and lateral flexion. Now we're gonna put a little bit of all of that together as we move the spine in a circular motion. So inhale, cow pose, arch to the spine, look up towards the ceiling. Exhale, draw your left shoulder, left hip together as you look towards that left hand side of the body. So like you're trying to see past your left shoulder. Then round your spine through the middle, coming into a cat pose. And then draw right shoulder to right hip as you look past that right shoulder. And then keep going in the circular motion, gazing up to your left, down to the floor, and to the right. Do that one more time in this direction. And then we go in the opposite direction. So look past your right shoulder as you draw right shoulder and right hip closer together. Then look down to the ground as you round your spine through cat pose. Look past the left shoulder as you engage the left side of the body. And then arch your spine. Do that 2 more times in that direction. Making kind of like a barrel roll, as if you're tracing the inside of a barrel. Good, and then come back to neutral on the spine. Push down through the hands so you're nice and stable in the shoulders. Think about engaging the center of the body, or everything towards the center of the body, as you lift the right knee off the mat. Circle the right thigh in one direction, as big of circles as you can take it. Exactly what we did lying down, and then take those circles in the other direction. Big controlled circles. Good. Then draw your right knee towards your chest on that last circle. Cross your right shin in front of your left shin. So the knees will be stacked one in front of the other. Take your blocks underneath your hands, level 3. And bring the blocks as close as you can towards you. In order to find balance here, I would recommend bringing your feet to the sides of your mat so you have a wider base. Press down into your shin bones, hug your inner thighs together, and you may already start to notice a stretch with the outer left hip. You can stay here, or if you're able to find your balance, again, hug in through the inner thighs, press down through both knees, and then you can reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Grab opposite forearms, take a big breath in. Exhale, lean your upper body to the right, your hips to the left. And then again, emphasizing that length down the left side of the body. Come back to center, inhale. Exhale, take your hands back down to the blocks. Crawl them out in front of you. You can leave them to the top of the mat. Good. Crawl your right knee a little bit forward as you sit on your right hip. So you'll be in this deer pose position, 90-degree bend in both of your legs. Right leg is rotating up, left leg is rotating in. Interlace your hands behind your head. Sit up nice and tall, inhale. Exhale, side bend to the left elbow towards your left knee. Then pause, try to root down through your sit bones as best you can, engaging through your hips and the core as you round your spine. Side bend to the right shoulder towards right hip, and then come back up. Now we go in the other direction. Side bend to your right. Round your spine through the middle. Side bend to the left, and come all the way up. Good, release your arms. It's totally normal to get a cramp in that outer left hip, especially if you're not used to stabilizing your legs or stabilizing your pelvis using the legs in this position. All right, so from here, crawl wherever your right knee is pointing, crawl your hands in that direction and fold over your right leg. You don't have to come all the way down onto the forearms. You can always just stay propped up on your fingertips, or if you like, you can take your blocks underneath your forearms so you're a little bit higher off the ground. So you have a couple options here to work with. Find whichever one works best for you, the amount of depth that works, and then hold here. Notice the sensation of the stretch in the back of the right hip and the intensity of that stretch. Then crawl your arms a section to the left and pause here. Just notice how this feels and maybe the intensity or where you feel the sensation has changed. Keep doing that. Each place that you move your arms to your upper body to hold there for a full cycle of breath. Find where your end range is. And then once you find it, go back the same way you came. So you'll start crawling towards your right. Again, at each section you hold. And if you find a spot that's a little sticky that you want to hold a little longer, you're more than welcome to stay there and make it more of a static hold instead of a dynamic moving stretch. And just like when you crawl to the left, go as far as you can to the right until you find your end range. And once you find that end range, crawl back to where you started. Then press yourself up. Move your blocks that were at the top of the mat to the back of the mat as you take the soles of your feet together. So you'll be in a Baddha Konasana position or butterfly shape in the legs. Tilt the front of your pelvis forward as you fold. Now, it doesn't matter how deep you fold, how it looks. What really matters is how it feels, right? How your body is perceiving this, your relationship to this stretch. So as you're here, take 2 cycles of breath, observing that. Press yourself up. And now we're going to move through that little flow, but going in reverse to the other side. Come into your deer pose position, but this time your left leg is rotated out, your right leg is rotated in. And you want about a 90-degree bend in both of your legs. We'll start with that deer pose stretch. So crawl your hands in the direction of where your left knee is pointed. Fold over it and just notice how it feels. Maybe in relation to the first side. And then crawl a section towards your left and notice how that feels. Once you complete a cycle of breath, keep crawling one section at a time to the left-hand side until you find your end range. And again, you're more than welcome to just hold in one particular spot. But I find it's kind of nice to explore here because every day is going to be different. Even though maybe, yes, you carry or you tend to carry tension more in one spot than the other, maybe today it feels slightly different. Now, once you get to your end range going to your left, start going to the right. And keep working all the way until you get to that end range, wherever that may be. And then go back to where you started. Slowly press yourself up. Take your hands behind your head. Press down through your sit bones as best you can, knowing that that right hip is probably not grounded. Take a big inhale. Exhale, side bend towards your right shoulder, right knee or hip. Round your spine through the middle. Side bend to your left, engaging through the outer hips, glutes, spine, core. And then now we go in reverse, side bending to your left. Round your spine through the middle, having to engage your core as you do this. Side bend to the right. And then come all the way back up. Take your hands to the back of your mat now and slide your right knee behind the left. So you're in that Gomukhasana position in the legs or cow face pose in the legs. So your feet are going to be as wide as your mat. Hug your inner thighs together and crawl your blocks underneath your shoulders. Press down into the shins, press down into the knees, and hug the inner thighs together as you rise up. You can stay here with your fingertips onto the blocks for balance, or you can reach the arms overhead. Clasp opposite forearms, take a breath in. Exhale, side bend to the left as you lengthen through that right hand side. Slowly come back up. Take your hands down to the blocks. You can set them at the back of your mat here. To unwind, press down into your hands. You can slide your right knee out a bit and then circle the left hip out. Left thigh going in one big circle, then go in the other direction. Good. Lower your knees to the mat. Swing your legs to one side. Have a seat. Lie on your back. Plant your feet to the ground. Slide one hand just below your belly button to the top of the pelvis, the other hand above your belly button to the bottom of your ribs. Imagine that you're doing a cat-cow, just lying down. Inhale, arch the spine like you're doing a cow pose. Feel the lower back lift, and you're tilting your weight to the lower back portion of your pelvis. Then exhale, do the opposite. Round your spine. Feel the front of the body engage, back of the body lengthen. Take a couple more just like that. Notice even the movement of your head and neck. As you arch your spine, the chin will tuck in. As you round your spine, your chin will extend up and back. And all we're doing is finding two opposite engagements, flexion and extension, anterior part of the body engaging, posterior part of the body engaging. And through those two oppositions, we can create balance. We can create ease and relaxation. Take one more. Lengthen your legs out. Relax your arms by your side. And you might notice that the lower back has relaxed a little bit more along the mat. Good. Plant your feet to the ground. Grab one of your blocks, lift your hips up, and slide that block underneath your pelvis. So you're in a supported bridge. As you lower the sacrum, that flat triangular bone, to the block, make sure that it feels flat. If you notice that your pelvis is tilting forward or back, the block is a little too high or too low, so you might have to adjust it accordingly. Once you have it set up, keep your gaze to the ceiling, lengthen your legs forward. That's going to invite a little bit more length through the hip flexor group. You can even reach the arms overhead. Close your eyes. Allow your body to just sink, the weight of your pelvis heavy on that support. Hug your right knee to your chest. You can hold around the shin or behind the hamstrings, whatever feels more available to you. And then you can keep your left leg long. If that puts too much pressure on your back, you can always plant your left foot to the ground. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. While you're at it, go ahead and circle the right ankle in one direction and then in the other. Plant your right foot to the mat, switch sides. Right leg can go long or plant. And then again, circle the left ankle in one direction and then the other direction. Plant both feet to the ground. Lift your hips up just enough to move the block out of the way and lower your pelvis to the floor. Relax your arms by your side. Lengthen the legs out just for a moment to notice any differences that you sense, especially in the pelvis and the lower back. Just kind of make mental note of anything that you observe. Good. Now plant your feet to the ground. Cross your left leg on top until the knees are stacked. Take a big inhale. Exhale, drop your legs to the left. Try to keep the right shoulder blade to the floor. And if it feels comfortable, you can turn your head to the right. You might notice a little tug, a stretch along the right side of the body. Come back to center, inhale. Keep going as you exhale. Every inhale, you come back to the middle. Every exhale, you drop the legs to the side. Take 2 more. Unwind your legs, lengthen them out. And you might notice a difference between right shoulder and left. Maybe the right shoulder feels lower, and that just puts less pressure on your lower back, less pressure on your mid back. Let's do that on the other side. Plant your feet to the ground. Cross right leg on top until the knees are stacked. Take a big breath in. Exhale, drop the legs towards the right. Try to keep your left shoulder blade grounded, and if it feels comfortable, you can turn your head towards your left. Keep going. Every inhale, you bring the legs to the center. Every exhale, you drop the legs to the right. Close your eyes. Allow this to be very gentle, very rhythmic. These are somatic exercises. This one and the cat-cow movement that we did a moment ago. Soma means living body. So instead of worrying about what we look like on the exterior as we move physically through the practice, in somatics, we are more concerned about how it feels in our relationship to what we're doing, our perception as we move through these very gentle shapes. Bring your legs back to center, unwind them, and lengthen them out along the ground. Arms relaxed by your side, legs nice and long. Notice any differences that you sense in the hips and pelvis, the lower back, the mid back, the shoulders, your breath. Just using the tools in the practice the best way that we can so that we can feel good, so that we can live good. Take a little bit of time here to just soften around the edges, to give yourself permission to let go. And then just wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes. Stretch the arms overhead. And then hug your knees to your chest. Roll over to one side of your body. And meet me in a comfortable seated position. Close your eyes. Take a deep breath in, filling up from the base of the belly, bottom of the ribs, chest, collarbones, throat. Hold at the top. And then find a big audible sigh out of the mouth. I thank you for joining me for this practice, and I'm sure your body thanks you for taking this time to nourish the areas that maybe have been forgotten or just need a little bit more balance. Namaste.